Psalm 44. Saints praise the Lord and boast in his name forever. They are persecuted, maligned, counted as sheep for the slaughter. To the chief musician for the sons of Korah, Maschil. We have heard with our ears, O God, our fathers have told us what work thou didst in their days, in the times of old. How thou didst drive out the heathen with thy hand, and plantest them. How thou didst afflict the people, and cast them out. For they got not the land in possession by their own sword, neither did their own arm save them. But thy right hand, and thine arm, and the light of thy countenance, because thou hadst a favor unto them. Thou art my king, O God. Command deliverances for Jacob. Through thee will we push down our enemies. Through thy name will we tread them under that rise up against us. For I will not trust in my bow, neither shall my sword save me. But thou hast saved us from our enemies, and hast put them to shame that hated us. In God we boast all the day long, and praise thy name forever, Selah. But thou hast cast off, and put us to shame, and goest not forth with our armies. Thou makest us to turn back from the enemy, and they which hate us spoil for themselves. Thou hast given us like sheep appointed for meat, and hast scattered us among the heathen. Thou sellest thy people for naught, and dost not increase thy wealth by their price. Thou makest us a reproach to our neighbors, a scorn and a derision to them that are round about us. Thou makest us a byword among the heathen, a shaking of the head among the people. My confusion is continually before me, and the shame of my face hath covered me. For the voice of him that reproacheth and blasphemeth, by reason of the enemy and avenger, all this has come upon us, yet have we not forgotten thee. Neither have we dealt falsely in thy covenant. Our heart is not turned back, neither have our steps declined from thy way. Though thou hast sore broken us in the place of dragons, and covered us with the shadow of death, if we have forgotten the name of our God, stretched out our hands to a strange God, shall not God search this out? For he knoweth the secrets of the heart. Yea, for thy sake are we killed all the day long. We are counted as sheep for the slaughter. Awake, why sleepest thou, O Lord? Arise, cast us not off forever. Wherefore hidest thou thy face, and forgettest our affliction and our oppression? For our soul is bowed down to the dust, our belly cleaveth unto the earth. Arise for our help, and redeem us for thy mercy's sake. I have to say I'm not completely sure where this would fall in our timeline, because being driven and oppressed by their enemies, that could be the captivity, could also be the time before David, during the time of the judges. That happened a couple of times. But then they say that they're being driven even though they have not turned away from God. And yet in all these cases, they are driven because they turned away from God. Now, there were always a certain portion that never turned away from God. So it's interesting. What it actually sounds like to me more than anything is the time of the Christian church just after Christ, when the Christians were literally being hunted because they were Christians. See, the Jews were rarely hunted because they were Jews. That did happen later. I mean, after the captivity, we have some animosity there that develops over time. But, I mean, the Philistines didn't attack Israel because they were Israel. They just attacked them because that's what you did back then. You conquered your neighbors. Times of religious persecution, which is what is being described here, don't really appear, at least until later on in the captivity. The time of Esther or later. But we really don't see religious persecution in this way until the time just after Christ. So it's just, what's being described here is very, I almost think this is a prophecy, describing what will happen in the future. because it doesn't seem to describe what's going on in ancient Israel. But I do like this. It is a good song. And I like it, we will trust in God. We don't put our trust in Him. We still go out and fight. That's the, you got to get this right. We still do what we need to do. We don't just sit there and expect God to throw down thunderbolts to destroy our enemies. No, we go to war. But we don't trust our own strength. We go to war knowing that with God behind us, we will win. That God will protect us. God will give us the victory. If we go to war, we will have the victory. It is not saying that we should just sit back and expect God to do everything for us. But that we should always say that we will win if we have God with us. We trust that God will preserve us. We don't trust that we can preserve ourselves. But we still do what we have to.